it's not about the dress. It's about the person that you're marrying.
Right.
It's about the ups and the downs that come afterwards. It's about staying together through thick and thin. It's about recognizing maybe when something isn't working.
This is the Entrepology Podcast, the podcast where we optimize the bodies, brains, and lifestyles of entrepreneurs, go-getters, and world-changing innovators.
Welcome to the Entrepology Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Megan Walker. As an anthropologist and naturopathic doctor, I optimize the health and performance of badass women working to change the world as entrepreneurs and go-getters. You know, people exactly like you. Your business, body, balance, and inner badass, these are the themes that we are exploring. Before we jump into the interview, I want to invite you to join our free Facebook community, Legacy. If you want to be something amazing, you need to surround yourself with amazing people. The Legacy community is made up of badass women living, not leaving, but living our legacy every single day. We are leaders, parents, entrepreneurs, and innovators collectively committed to leaving the world better than we found it. My mission is to support the health and optimization of these badass superheroes, literally to places we never thought imaginable. If you are on a mission and get it that your health is the key to your unlimited potential, then join us. We are super awesome. You can find us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/groups/BE Legacy. See you there. About 2.5 years ago, I had the opportunity to work with an incredible woman while she was actually still a student in Toronto. Dr. Ashley Margeson graduated as a naturopathic doctor about 18 months ago, and what is amazing is that she has really taken the world by storm. Now, I wasn't surprised about this at all, but what I find so fascinating is to really delve into the journey that she has had since she graduated, but contextualizing that against the work that she had done personally and the commitments and the learnings that she had engaged in to be able to accelerate her growth as a practitioner and as an entrepreneur on the other side. It is an incredible story of someone that I respect deeply, someone who has been consistent in her ability to try new things, be willing to fail, but confidently move forward while inspiring other individuals. We got into the hacks of entrepreneurism, how to get through flights and expedite your sense of recovery when you land on the other side, how to keep going as an entrepreneurial woman, and the tiny little things that we can do every single day to accelerate our capacity to be present and resilient in the face of all the things that are coming at us. What was especially cool was the thing that Ashley was hooked up to while we were doing the interview. You got to jump in to learn all about it. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Dr. Ashley Margeson. Dr. Ashley Margeson, welcome to the Entrepology Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, this is kind of a long time coming because I've had the chance to work with you in the past and watch your career as a student and then leaving and then blossoming into this incredible entrepreneur. Tell us what's happened since you graduated. How many years ago did you graduate from naturopathic school?
Oh, geez. I graduated a year and a half ago.
Okay. What's so cool about this is that you've accomplished so much in a year and a half. So take us through behind the scenes. What has gone on since you launched your career?
So since I graduated, I joined the Cornerstone Naturopathic team out here in Halifax. We've since expanded to 4 clinics now across the eastern coast of Canada. So we've got clinics in Yarmouth and Bridgewater, which are really rural areas of the province, and then our main base in Tantallon, and then we have a pop-up clinic in Halifax, which is our fun clinic that we get to play with every once in a while. And so I have really kind of settled into what life is like as an entrepreneur and a businesswoman. But in my spare time, I'm moonlighting kind of on a tech startup and teaching bar classes every once in a while. So it's been a really interesting learning experience in what building a business looks like, and how building a business can really suck your soul if you're not careful about it.
Okay, and I want to go deep on that because it's funny, I had a few conversations with practitioners yesterday, and the overwhelming theme is, I am burnt out. they are just tired.
So tired. Don't want to get up in the morning. No motivation to do anything. Just exhausted.
Okay, and then let's be honest, because you painted this picture for me before this interview started, because here's the thing is I think sometimes it's easy for us all to talk about you have to do balance and you have this and it's all calm. And I said to Ashley before this started, I'm going to start to have some segments on Facebook that are just like full on vulnerability reports, because I feel like everything can be falling apart behind the scenes, right? And we pop onto Facebook Live and we're all happy. So what is currently happening this exact second to keep you propped up after a busy week? This is too funny.
This is hilarious. I know. Like Megan called me originally and I was like, I'm doing 5 things. So we had 2 patients show up unexpected. I'm currently hooked up to an IV myself. Dr. Nicole, who's one of our residents here at Cornerstone, is switching over my bag as we speak because I'm about to get on a flight in 3 hours for a course.
Okay, so take people through
chaos.
Yeah, so chaos is too fun. And then I told Ashley I would like a picture of her recording a podcast while hooked up to an IV. And I think for people who aren't used to intravenous therapy, let's start there. They're like, "Oh gosh, are you sick? Like what do you mean you're hooked up to an IV?" She's not in a hospital hooked up to a bag because she is ill. She's hooked up to a bag because she's moving towards optimization. So what is in your IV and how do you guys leverage IV therapy at Cornerstone?
So let's talk about leveraging IV therapy first, because it's something that people are hearing about, but we're not really seeing in the mainstream yet. So IV therapy is basically every single supplement that you would take to keep yourself on top of your game. But instead of having to take a pill every day, which I am honest to goodness not good at, you come into one of our Cornerstone clinics or any clinic that does IV therapy and you get a drip hooked directly into your vein. It takes about an hour to drip through. Sometimes it can take more or less, and it puts all of those vital nutrients directly into your body. So we're talking things like B vitamins, vitamin C, magnesium. We use straight ATP, which for any biochem nerds out there is what your body uses for energy. Adenosine triphosphate. We use amino acids. We've been known to use injectable caffeine now and then because we work with people who are literally creating a change in the world and they don't have time to get sick. So most of the entrepreneurs that we work with are in every 2 months for preventative drips.
And what about this notion of you're getting on a plane in 3 hours? And so you're like, okay, I'm doing an IV before I get on the plane. How does IV therapy help support you when you're traveling?
So there's a couple different ways. One is that it puts extra hydration into your body. So when you drink water, you still have to absorb it, which means your adrenal glands, that stress response glands, still need to be able to hold water on. Anybody who's listening to this podcast can probably think of a time when I'm drinking 3 liters of water and I need to pee right afterwards. And that's because those adrenal glands just can't hold on to that hydration. IV therapy overrides that. So because you're getting direct access into your venous network, you don't have to worry about absorption of any fluids. And then when you're flying, we know that recycled air is not the best for us. So we get far more dehydrated when we're flying as opposed to when we're just in our regular day-to-day. So we preventatively do jet lag IVs before or after trips to offset that.
Interesting. I was talking to another entrepreneur lately and they were like, I kind of found the secret to overcoming jet lag. And I'm not sure if you've heard this before either, but when you build up a strong electromagnetic charge when you're on an airplane.
Yep.
And so one of the things that this person had been, this was another practitioner, had been doing, and it was revolutionary for them, was they get off the plane and as soon as they can find some sand or they can find some grass, they actually just take off their shoes and they walk through the grass and they discharge that electromagnetic energy, and it completely shifts their capacity to recover. They do a bunch of other things, but they're like, that was the biggie in terms of discharging that. So it's just a little quick tip, right? Now, unless you're flying north.
I'm going to do that.
Right? So sand, grass, whatever. You could be that weird person walking through the garden in front of the hotel.
Oh, I've also been that weird person who walks through the garden in front of the hotel, because for me, it's all of these little tiny things that you can do your day to day. Health isn't about, especially for women who are incredibly busy, it's not about doing everything perfectly and spending a ton of money. What it's about is doing all of these little things each day that set into a routine that feeds your soul.
Absolutely. And, I want to go into this a little bit deeper when we're talking about how do we support women as entrepreneurs. And one thing I want to talk about in particular, and you just referenced it there, you're like, I will be that weird person who's walking through the garden. Not that you are a weird person, but you are.
But let's be honest. All of us are a little bit weird in all of our own ways.
Okay, you're right. Let's the truth.
So I will own that.
Yeah, no, I'm still going to contend I don't find you a weird person, but maybe that's because we're similar in some ways. But one thing I have always admired in you is your sense of confidence. And when I work with women as entrepreneurs, as practitioners, it doesn't matter the context. One of the key differentiators in terms of being able to say, oh yeah, this person is going to be able to step into the world and just harness it, or we're going to have to overcome some things, is an inherent sense of confidence. And I want to understand a little bit more about the journey that you have been on and the environment that you have placed yourself in that has allowed this to flourish for you.
Oh, I'm a little bit flustered right now. That's lovely things to hear, Megan. Thank you. So last night I was keynoting an awards gala, and which was astonishing to be able to do at this point. I also didn't completely understand why. And I was sending a response through originally, and I had typed, "Are you sure that you want me to do this? I haven't been doing it for that long." And I literally had a moment where I had to stop and catch myself, because I was like, why on earth do I think that I am not qualified to share my story because I haven't been doing it as long as somebody else? And so I think that as women, and we're seeing these changes in the culture and the community right now in ways that I don't think anybody could have ever expected. That age of Aquarius is really coming strong. And it's coming fast. But we all have times when we're not confident. We all have times when we're like, oh, that wasn't me, or oh, don't worry about that. Or we don't preach the successes that we've had. And so I sent the email through, and at the end I said, I almost said no to this because I felt like I didn't have enough experience to share. And I'm saying yes to this because I think that each of us inherently has a story that we're meant to tell. And if I can tell my story in a way that allows somebody else to step into their own, then I'm accomplishing my job giving this keynote. So last night was that address, and I was standing up there and I wanted to talk about 3 different things, which I think if any woman listening to this podcast is listening to it for either the first time or the 26th time, then they're going, if you can understand and figure out these 3 questions and the answers to those 3 questions, then you're literally setting yourself up for success. It doesn't matter if you're a healthcare practitioner. It doesn't matter if you are a mom. It doesn't matter if you are both. It doesn't matter if you are neither. What matters is, do you stay true to who you are and where you're coming from? So question 1, and jump in whenever you'd like, Meg. But question 1 is, who are you? And so these are the 3 questions that I've answered over the last year and a half that have a lot of people go, well, how have you done it at the age of 28? Like, how much work did it take? Like, who helped you? And a lot of it came down to the fact that I knew exactly what I wanted, and I had done the work to be able to put that into play as soon as I graduated. So question number 1 is, who are you? Who are you in this world? How do you hold yourself? How do you step? How do you walk? How do you shake a hand? Who is the type of person that you want to be? And maybe part of it is surrounding yourself with people that you look up to. I've made an incredibly conscious decision over each part of my life to surround myself with people who feed my soul. Megan happens to be one of those people. Ben Conley happens to be another one of those people. Doesn't matter if it's a male, if it's a female, it's somebody who's going to see the potential in you and just kind of give you like a little bit of a nudge. Be like, that's where you need to focus, or turn your head and think about it this way. So when you can figure out who you are, then everything else gets easier, because you're not trying to match yourself to somebody else's expectations. And that's one of the, I think, hardest things about stepping into the workforce, especially as a young woman, is we're told that we can have it all. We just sometimes forget that we get to define what having it all means to us. And that's the conversation I have with every single one of the patients that's sitting in front of me, especially the young female patients that I work with, is you get to have it all. You just have to decide what that means for you. If having it all means having the career, great. If having it all means having the career and the family, amazing. If having it all means having the family, fantastic. If having it all means leaving everything and going and jet setting for a year, then have it all. But stand behind what your truth and what your definition of having it all is.
Yeah. I hope you remember your other two questions if I interrupt you, because I'm going to interrupt you. I really like that idea, and I think one of the pieces is just owning what it means for you. Like, it is on you to define what your life is about and who you are. It's not going to come from comparing yourself to other people, because you're not the same as them. You have a different environment, you have a different circumstance, you have a different story, you probably have a different mission, but who you are and how you put yourself in the world is totally on you. And the one thing I just want to add on the having it all piece, and maybe you disagree with this, but I see this a lot. Well, I see it also in my own life, is sometimes you can have it all, just not all at once. And at any given moment, for me at least, it is what is most important right now. And it's a triage at that point. Is it today the most important thing is that I'm focused and recording interviews, but then when I get home tonight, the most important thing is going to be my kid. So there's little micro priorities of having it all that happen also. This is your interview. I'll stop talking now.
No, but it's completely true. And what you can't see right now is me nodding along with that, because I think the best thing about being a woman in today's day and age, and any age, is that we're incredibly good multitaskers. We're really good at it. Our brains, the way that neuron communication happens across the hemispheres of the brain, is very different in a female brain than it is in a male brain. Part of that is biochemically based because of how mitochondria function. And we get past that through our mothers. And so when you have female chromosomes, you just have a very different way of your mitochondria functioning than when you have a X and a Y. But that's probably really biochemistry based. But we're really good multitaskers, which means you can look at something and you can be doing something else, and you can be, in the car and driving somewhere and on the phone and making a mental note, and you can make all of that happen. The question is, do you actually have to do that all at the same time? Just because you can do it doesn't mean you have to. And just because you can make something happen doesn't mean you need to do it right away. And so I think what we're all starting to learn between all of us is that, yeah, I could do that. I could start it. I could also start a family. I could also sit on my couch and watch a Netflix show. And every single one of those is still important.
And I will surmise part of that, because what I'm hearing you say is there's a balance and there's a need to make a decision, right? And this notion of just because you can do it doesn't necessarily mean you should. And I was talking to someone yesterday, and they were burnt out and they were exhausted, and what they said really resonated with me. They said, for a very long time, I opted to prove to the world that I was strong, and I tapped into my strength versus tapping into my wisdom. And when I actually stopped and had the confidence to tap into my wisdom, it meant I hit pause on a variety of initiatives. I reorganized how I did things. I hired an assistant to manage things for me, because I no longer identified with the person who had to do it all. I started to move towards the person who did it smarter. And I thought it was such a really poignant way of putting it, because we get caught in that as women. We're like, I'm going to identify as the person who can do it all. But sometimes we actually have to do it from a place of our wiser being.
We really do. And we need to remember that just because you can do it doesn't mean that you have to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think and I look at the girlfriends that I graduated with, and I look at the girlfriends that are doing amazing things. And I've really surrounded myself with that community here. But they don't do every single thing that they could potentially do. They don't say yes to every single thing that they get offered. Because they don't feel like they have to in order to have accomplished something.
Right. And your very first point, which was, who are you and what are you putting out into the world? When you are clear on that, it enables you to triage opportunities. Because not everything is going to align to your core purpose and who you are, even if you're able to do it. It's such an important first step.
It's a hugely important first step. And I don't even know if that's proper grammar to say.
It doesn't matter. It's not the grammar podcast.
It's not the grammar podcast. And Dr. Nicole's here right now fixing my IV because it cramped halfway through. And she's giggling at the same time because she agrees.
I took you off your other 2 points, and I know people are going to call me on it.
Yeah, I want to go into those other 2 points. So the second point, first point is, who are you? And when you know who you are, you're not going to say yes to something just for the sake of saying yes to something. The second point is, what do you want to be known for?
Good one.
So when we're talking about moving forward with your life and making decisions about the type of business that you want, or the life that you want to be leading and the life that you want to be living, what you really want to be thinking about is, what do I want to be known for? So do you want to be known for, and I don't ever like saying, well, you can be a great mom or a great businesswoman, because both of those are true at some point. But what do you want to be known for? What do you want to leave your mark on in this world? How do you want your legacy to be remembered? And so when you know what you want to be known for, so maybe if you're a healthcare practitioner and you're listening to this right now, you're like, I want to be known as the hormone queen. Like, I want to fix women's hormones so that they can get on with their day. Maybe that's what you want to be known for. Maybe what you want to be known for is being the type of woman who didn't try and do it all, but did what she loved. Maybe what you want to be known for is being the type of woman who empowers other women. Maybe you want to be a communicator. The question is, if you were to die tomorrow, as awful as that may be to hear in a podcast right now when we're talking about amazing things, if you die tomorrow, if somebody's going to write your eulogy, what do you want them to say? Do you want them to say, like, oh, she was a workaholic? She, put her work in front of every single thing else. She, made decisions to put her family first. She made decisions to put her business first. The question is, do you know what you want to be known for? I know that when I have patients who go and talk about me to their friends, I want them to be able to say, yeah, maybe she didn't get it right the first time, but she never gave up. So I want every single person walking out of my office to know that I'm never going to give up on them. Because that's the last thing that I want to hear, is somebody fell through the cracks, somebody slipped through those cracks. So what do you want to be known for?
Love it.
And there's no right answer and there's no wrong answer.
And it doesn't have to stay the same answer.
And it shouldn't stay the same answer. What you want at age 20 versus what you want at age 30 versus what you want at age 60 should be very different.
Absolutely.
If they're the same, you're not growing. And you're probably going to be bored, honestly. And then third question, which is my absolute favorite, is, how do you want to leave people feeling?
It's such a good point.
Yes. And it's these things that, like, we can all go through school, right? We can all get A+. I think we chase those A+. Anybody who's in business, anybody who's in medicine, there's no way you never chase those A+ when you were in school. And then you go to university, and then you go to grad school, and you start a business, and you're still chasing those A+. But what we forget about is how we want to leave people feeling. Do you want to leave people feeling like they were heard? Do you want to leave people feeling like they were empowered, inspired? I have a group of girlfriends that we meet for breakfast at like 6 a.m. because all of us are crazy. And we make it happen a couple times a year.
That is crazy.
Yeah. But like all four of us run businesses, and it's the one time that we like, this is really important to us, not only from a friendship basis, but from a business basis, because you don't have to do it alone, and you shouldn't have to feel like you need to do it by yourself. So we all work in different fields. But my girlfriend, Steph, who last time we were out to dinner it was an evening. And she looks at the four of us and she goes, so what are your Q2 goals? And I was like, well, that's a cool way of thinking about it. What are your Q2 goals? So we talked about business and finances and numbers and, patients in the door and patients out of the door and marketing. And then her second question was, what's your word for this quarter? What's your Q2 word? What's going to be at the back of your head every single day that you're working through Q2? And what do you want it to trend right across? Which is, I think, something that we forget about. We're like, yeah, I'm going to make all these goals. I'm going to make all of these plans. But like, why? The same thing with patients. I'm going to see patients. I'm going to figure out their hormones. I'm going to work on their biochemistry. I'm going to get them better. But why? Because those whys come down to feelings. And when we understand how we want to leave people feeling, everything else just makes sense.
It's also the first step towards building that confidence piece.
It is.
Because we're good at it as women. We are good at making people feel a certain way. Right. And that turns around and it usually bounces right off of people and right back to you. Right back to you as a woman. It's one of the areas that I'm actually particularly passionate about. There's a great book by Claire Shipman is one of the authors, and Katty, I can't remember her name. Anyways, it's called I believe it's called The Confidence Code. And it's so interesting because it breaks all of these pieces down. But you're right, when you get clear on some of these key elements, and it's not, you're not going to figure this out by Monday, but when you get clear.
And you shouldn't figure this out by Monday. It took me a year and a half to figure out these elements.
Right. And it's going to evolve and change. So it's like, this is the product of the first year and a half of your commitment to understanding those pieces. And in another 3 years, we're going to see the evolution of your commitment to really looking at these components. And what's cool about this, and what you're clearly articulating, Ashley, is that you have built for yourself an environment, a personal development environment, a work environment, a friend environment that helps to support your ongoing growth. What else do you have going on in your environment? Because this is an area I'm really interested in understanding right now. What else is going on that helps to support your momentum? So your health momentum, your business momentum, how are you crafting this opportunity? And for people listening, read between the lines here that it is not your circumstances in life. It's not who you were born to or where you are. Those are set, but it's how you craft your ongoing environment that's going to determine so much.
It is a conscious decision every single day to walk into an environment that feeds my soul. If that environment that I'm walking into doesn't do that, I'm going to either figure out why and fix it, or recognize that there are areas that I cannot control in that environment, because you can't control everything. As much as we wish we could, we can't. But what I can control, we fix. What I can't control, we either work around or we say, that's not working, move on to the next thing. I don't ever feel, and this is growth patterns, so this is probably a lot of confidence in having crashed and burned a number of times to get to this point. I don't feel like I need to continually work at something to make it work if it's draining me.
Amen.
If it is, it's not worth it.
No, it's not worth it.
That fight at some point will always be worth it. You can make every single argument in the book. You're like, it's worth it. I know it's worth it. But at some point, there's going to be a tipping point. And the question is, can you figure out what that tipping point is before it happens and do something about it? Because if you go over, it's much harder to come back from.
Right. And sometimes it's a matter of setting the criteria that enables you to know whether or not you're on the right track. And usually setting that criteria before you jump into the project is a really helpful piece, because you need to be able to differentiate, when is this actually just hard because being an entrepreneur or being a parent or being a spouse is hard, and when is it, okay, well, this is just ridiculous resistance, right? So stepping back and setting that criteria and planning before you step into it is is so very, very key. You mentioned crashing and burning and then getting up and trying some new things. You've got some cool initiatives that are taking place in your world in addition to your clinical practice. Take us through some of the things that you've got on the table right now, because I really want to explore this idea with people that you got to just try. Some stuff's going to work.
Yes.
Some stuff's not going to work. Sometimes it's timing. Sometimes it's you. Like, that is one of the things that I really feel differentiates those confident people from those people who are like, I'm scared to do it, is there's this fear that it won't work. Yeah, it's not going to work sometimes, because that's the truth for everyone. So tell us what you're trying right now.
It shouldn't work every single time.
No.
Like if you walk into a scenario and it works every single time, either you have magical pixie dust around you or there's something else going on. Like I have never, ever met a woman or a man who has succeeded in every single thing that they've done. And I've failed multiple times. The failures are things that I always learn from, and we spin it in a really good way. And you're like, okay, step back. Right now, I'm focused on brides. So when I look at the people that I absolutely love working with, they are these usually women and go-getters and people who are chasing what it means to have their definition of having it all. And that comes down to brides. So in our late 20s, early 30s, what's the biggest thing that everybody talks about? Yeah, you have your career, and that's a day-to-day growth. You get married. So when you can feel your best when you're getting married, then that has the world of confidence changes right across the board. So between supporting, so what we do is we work with brides from an online based, and so it's can be done really anywhere in the world. We have brides who are over in Abu Dhabi, who are in Toronto, who are out in Vancouver, who are here in Halifax, who do our program. It's a 3-month program that sets you up to succeed. So everybody's talking about weddings right now. Wedding season is coming around. Weddings aren't about the big day. Like marriages aren't about weddings, right? They're not about the white dress. They're not about the perfect cake. They're not about, the bridesmaid colors that work. They're about everything that happens afterwards.
I don't know about that. It was kind of about the dress for me.
I don't know. Like I haven't gotten married, so maybe I got it completely wrong. But like, it's not about the dress. It's about the person that you're marrying.
Right.
It's about the ups and the downs that come afterwards. It's about staying together through thick and thin. It's about recognizing maybe when something isn't working. So working with brides, really what our goal is to give them not only the nutrition and the skin and the hormone balancing and kind of the digestive side of feeling good, but also getting them set up so that you don't gain a pile of weight after your wedding because all you did was crash diet for 3 weeks to fit into your wedding dress. And it happens to so many people. And they're like, I'm stressed out. And then all of a sudden you're breaking out and it's 3 days before your wedding. So this is preventative medicine. This is like naturopathic medicine. This is functional medicine at its best. My job is to not let you have any symptoms.
So what I'm hearing you say is you are leveraging someone's wedding as a gateway experience to healthier living.
Exactly. And taking the stress out and making it fun and getting rid of a couple hangovers afterwards at the same time.
Yeah, who doesn't want that? And life does that to you, right? You have these pivotal experiences, and I feel like a wedding is for a lot of people that first like big monumental experience. But then, depending on whether you want to start a family or what's going on, there's a series of them that happen in rapid succession, where you need your health, your career accelerates. Perhaps you're starting a family, you're buying a house. There's a lot of stressful things that happen moving forward from that time where you're getting married, and what a cool opportunity to really set the groundwork and the stage for a healthier way of being moving forward. I love it.
Like my goal always is to work myself out of a job. So if you do our elite bridal wellness program and you absolutely love it and you feel amazing and you never need me because you've put those cornerstones of health in place, and that's nutrition, it's exercise, it's nutrition, it's movement, it's sleep, and it's happiness. If you have those 4 cornerstones at play, you shouldn't need me.
Right.
And if you want to work with me at that point, then we're talking optimization. And we're talking, you're feeling really good. How do you feel better? How do you spark joy in little areas of your life? How do you create an environment around you that feeds your soul? Because those cornerstones are there. just like if you can answer those 3 questions, you're solid.
Here's the thing that's so cool about what you just said, and I want to pull back and contextualize one thing that you just said. You said, if I'm doing my job correctly, I'm working myself out of a job. I am not treating people anymore. And what's really cool about that is the most successful practitioners I know all carry that philosophy, and they say it upfront with their patients. I say it upfront with my patients. If in 6 months I'm still treating you, we really need to regroup and figure out what is going on. Because if naturopathic medicine or functional medicine or however you practice is working the way it should, you shouldn't need to see me on an ongoing basis. And for the practitioners out there who are listening, I really want you to own that. This is not about how do we hang on to patients forever. It is what can you give them to get rid of them. And for people who have practitioners, and everyone's got a doctor, your question to them should be, what's your exit strategy to not treat me anymore? And if they don't know that, or they look at you like you're crazy, you need to find a new doctor.
You don't want to be working with them.
No.
Yeah, like if somebody's literally sitting in my office and they have the same problem they came in with, or the same symptoms they came in with, and it's 3 months later, 6 months later, I'm not doing my job right. Like, I've missed something.
Right. Or maybe they're not doing their side of the bargain. But yes,
assuming that side of the bargain is plain. Like, we've both got to do our jobs. Like, it's easy for me, quote unquote, to sit here and be like, this is what we have to do. This is the biochemistry. This is the physiology. This is the why. It's much harder to put that into action.
Absolutely.
Like, I have the quote unquote easy side of the equation because I don't have to go home and do it. I do it myself for what my life is and for how I need to support my life, but I can't be there holding your hand every single day doing it.
Such a great, empowering point. We could do this all. We could do this all day. We have a 10-part podcast series between Megan and Ashley. Ashley, what do you want your legacy to be? What do you want to be known for?
I want to be known for enabling women to support each other, whether that be in their home life, whether that be in their work life, whether that be in their personal life. I'm going to fly that flag for every single other woman around me. Beautiful. Creating a community of women is just, we thrive on community. We empower each other. And we're looking at kind of gender biases and gender specifics aside, when we look at that piece of the pie that everybody says, well, if I have this piece of the pie, then you don't get it. Or if you get that piece of pie, then I don't get it. That's crap. That is literally the last way that we want to be working about it. Because if we look at how women have worked for generations and generations and generations, villages, tribes, you support each other, you take care of each other's children, you sit and weave baskets together, like we're going back hundreds and hundreds of years. That pie just gets bigger. So I always look at it being, if somebody's coming in my office and they're better suited by a different doctor, I'm going to send them there because I know what I'm really good at. I'm also not good at other things. So if we can enable women to support each other and preach that they support each other, don't do it behind closed doors. Like, I'm going to stand up on a pedestal and talk about my favorite things about my girlfriends. Because when you do that, you create stronger communities.
And that's the beautiful thing about having confidence as women, is it is effortless for you to support the broader community. And you really take this philosophy that someone else's success is not your failure. Each month, I'm featuring a new anthropology quiz to help you unlock and uncover some of the physical performance blocks that may be holding you back from your true potential. When you know better, you can do better. To learn more or to take the quiz, head on over to meganwalker.com/anthropology quiz. This is a really cool place to transition in terms of looking at some of the ways that you live your life behind the scenes. So the second part of our interview is something that we call the key performance indicators, or KPIs. So these are rapid fire questions that I'm going to throw at you. I know you've heard the podcast before, so you may know what's coming, but I might switch it up. I want to keep you on your toes. But
that's difficult,
right? Well, especially while you're hooked up to an IV. Okay, let's jump in. Do you have a consistent morning routine? And if so, can you share it?
I have a confession that
Do it.
Probably know. I hate mornings. Like, I am not a morning person. I do not enjoy them. I never have. I probably never will. Do I love getting up and starting my day? Yes. My morning routine, like, I am up probably at 7:30 and I will do a quick stretch in bed. I will make myself a coffee and I will be out the door. That's my morning routine.
I love it.
So total confession, because I have listened to the podcast and I'm like, man, everybody has such good morning routines. That is not mine. What I put in place is a consistent evening routine. That's my calm down from the day. My days are crazy. They're 10 to 12 hours of go, go, go. And we've got a team here at Cornerstone and a team in my life that supports that. So I know I can wake up and just go. What I strive to do is create a consistent evening routine. So when I get home at the end of the day, I'm going to make a really good supper. I'm going to probably spend 30 to 45 minutes on it because that's my happy time. Literally going to take off my shoes, put on music, and cook. And then I'm going to read at least a chapter of whatever book I've got on the go at that point. And then I'm going to curl up in bed and I'm going to probably watch Stephen Colbert's latest episode, let's be honest. And I'm going to fall asleep. And I'm going to sleep phenomenal because I know that I've got to get up and do it the next morning. So I actually create a consistent evening routine as opposed to a morning routine because morning and I are just like not good friends.
Well, and a morning routine always starts in the evening. So you're off to a good start, Ashley. One day.
Really just ahead of the game.
Exactly. You're ahead of the curve.
Yeah, that's how I support myself. And it's also my quiet time.
Perfect. And we all have to do it our own way on our own terms. And we already talked about that. It's not about copying someone else's morning routine. You do what works for you. My morning routine, first of all, I'm living in a hotel right now because our renovations have gone sideways. Secondly, I'm sleeping in a bed with my kids. Thirdly, I have to tiptoe out of my room in the pitch black and make my way to the bathroom. And if I make any noise or turn on any light, everyone wakes up and it's all destroyed. If I'm lucky, I go to the gym. If I am not lucky, I get their breakfast ready in the dark. So again, we maximize their ability to sleep. And then everything is chaotic until we get out of the door. That is the truth behind where we are at right now. And maybe I'll have a really gorgeous routine once we get into our house and I don't have to tiptoe in the dark. But that's not the truth of where I'm at right now. So I just want to call out that morning routine piece because I have guests with really beautiful routines in the morning. But that's not the way that we're all necessarily working all the time.
No, and we shouldn't because it comes back to what we said before, right? You get to decide what your definition of living your life is. You get to define your day, but your day is not defined by somebody else's.
Absolutely. I'll say I have morning routine aspirations for once we're out of this because the environment that you set your stage with in the morning absolutely sets the stage for the day. Yeah. But we got to just give ourselves a break sometimes, right?
Oh my gosh. And like Instagram, picture perfect, but my geez, like it's not always picture perfect.
No, absolutely not. Fiction.
Okay, I'm interrupting your KPIs.
No, it's okay. It's all good. Fiction or nonfiction? What are you reading right now?
I am reading a nonfiction, though I think I've got like 4 different ones on the go at this point. I'm currently reading A Uterus is Not a oh shoot, I can't remember what the name it is. I will send it to you and you can put it on the Goodreads right now. A Uterus is Not a Bug, it's a Feature. And it's basically about how having a uterus does not define you and the patriarchy. And it's amazing.
Okay,
and
I love it.
And it's written by this like kick-ass female tech CEO. And I'm loving it.
Done. Okay, I'll put that on. I'm putting that on my Audible list for this afternoon. Good call, Dr. Ashley. What is the one thing you're most consistent with respect to your health?
Sleep.
Boom.
So those 4 cornerstones, nutrition, exercise, sleep, and happiness, those are my non-negotiables. If I don't have those, I know that I can't do what I do on a day-to-day basis. Sleep is my non-negotiable. I will not stay up late to finish something because I know that I am not beneficial the next day.
It's a great way of putting it and really throwing that out there to people. What are your non-negotiables with respect to health?
Yeah. Yeah. My partner knows it too. He's like, I know you're going to bed and I know you're going to sleep in. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you have to communicate those non-negotiables. Otherwise, they don't happen. What is something totally badass about you that people would not otherwise know?
I teach barre classes.
It's kind of badass.
BARRE.
Yeah.
Classes. I also, my alcohol of choice is whiskey.
Good segue.
Yeah. So they both match. I do a lot of like little tiny things throughout the day that I absolutely love. Bar attack classes get me my movement in, but they also, like, I love being surrounded by women who are empowered in their own health. And then, I grew up on whiskey. That's my drink of choice, which I guess is a quote unquote badass thing.
I didn't know that about you, but I'm a Scotch drinker, so I feel like we could.
Are you serious?
Yeah, we're going to have a good night when you come back.
We're going to have fun.
What do you do for fun or play besides drink whiskey?
I play every single day. Like I make a very conscious decision to not define an hour for play. I make an incredibly conscious decision to create environments that just have it infused. Like the amount of laughter that happens in Cornerstone, because that's the culture that we've worked to establish. Like we work hard. We'll see upwards of 30 to 40 patients a day, but it's fun and it's exciting. And then I'll hang out with my parents' dogs.
Yeah, that works, right? It's different definitions.
Different definitions. So for me, it's not about taking an hour and going to the gym for play I love hanging out with my girlfriends. But for me, if I'm going to run the way that I run, if I'm going to work the way that I work, it's about 5 seconds of play, like just interspersed throughout the day.
Amazing. Last question for you. Entrepreneurism. Are we born this way or do we learn to become entrepreneurs?
Both. I think genetically, we know that there are SNPs that have been studied in entrepreneurs that make us far more able to kind of see 3-month out plans, 5-month out plans. You chase that high, that dopamine high. That's a genetic thing. It's a biochemistry thing. It's a physiology thing. So I think some people will inherently always gear towards an environment that allows them to chase that high. But I think we can also learn it. I think every single person has the capacity to be an entrepreneur. We do it every single day. Our definition of entrepreneur tends to be a big, huge company that has employees. But like MLM is technically entrepreneurism, right? A bake sale, teaching your kids to have a lemonade stand. Like that's still instilling entrepreneurism and a willingness to make mistakes and take risks. And I think if you're willing to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation for the sake of putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation, I think if you're willing to make more mistakes than you have wins, I think if you are willing to not let fear hold you back, you're an entrepreneur. Love it.
Love it. Dr. Ashley, people are going to want to connect with you. Where can they find out more about what you're up to?
They can follow me on Instagram. It's my method of choice at Dr. Ashley Margeson, or pop me a message via my website. It's ashleymargeson.com.
Brilliant. All of these things are going to be in the show notes. Like always, such a pleasure to hang out. Thanks so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much, Megan. It's been a blast.
If you enjoyed our conversation and would like to hear more, head on over to Stitcher or iTunes and subscribe to the Entrepology podcast. We would also really appreciate a quick review. When people have their health, they can change the world. Let us keep you healthy and you go change the world.